Hi everyone, it's Anja here and I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks, and today in this video I am going to show you how to make those labels that my grandma used to put on her blankets. Now before I do, I would like to ask you to please go to the Facebook group and become a member of my Facebook group, Ophelia Talks Crochet. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel here. We are already 40,000 big, so please do become a member of this wonderful community and share my channel with others if you think they might like it, but also, give me a like, a thumbs up, and leave me a comment down below, okay? I would love to hear from you. So now, today in this video, I would like to show you how my grandma made these little labels. And of course, these days for us, it would be easy to just go online and type in, find a website, type it in and have them made and have them sent to us. They're not even that expensive. We can just have them in a few days. We can have a whole reel of labels. But of course, back in 2009, my grandma would not have had that possibility. She did not have a computer. She was not at all, with that. But she came up with this idea quite a long time ago. She started doing this. And she started making her own labels. So she put her name, which of course this is Muka. And this is a term of endearment that we used to call her. So it's like granny or gran or nanny. In English, Muka or Oma or, something like Mumu, sort of those kinds of words. That's sort of the Muka term that I used to call her. And of course, she put her name, but then also sometimes I have quite a few blankets that she made for my children, Thomas and Rachel, and they have the name Thomas and Rachel on them. So that makes it nice as well because she personalized the blanket for them. But what she also always did was put the year. And looking back now, I think what an ingenious thing to do, because now I look at these things and I know that she made it in a particular year. Yeah, that's Ray just jumped up on the desk. So 2009 is actually the year she died. So she was making this, sort of the last months of her life, and it is just so precious to have. So here we are. Master Ray is come to join us as well. So today we are going to have a go at making a label like this. Yes, here this fabric that's a completely different story. For those who have made this blanket, there's ends because of the stars. So she must have thought, I'm going to cover up the ends. And I think this actually, I think it's kitchen curtains that she used for it. I mean, how ingenious, she was recycling things before we actually were told to start recycling, like they did in the olden days, really. You use what you've got, and it's so precious that she put these there as well, because I think I remember those kitchen curtains even. But anyway, so if you are doing the cowl, right, sneak peek, then it would be nice for us to put not only maybe your name, but also to put a label with the date or with the year on it. So that's what we are going to do. Okay, so let me just put these to the side and bring out my supplies, which I think you are going to need. So the fabric that she used was a little bit of sort of this thicker cotton canvas. So I went to the fabric shop and I just found this canvas. Is it called calico? I'm not too sure. It's not white. There's some specks in it, so it's sort of off-white, but it's ideal for little things like that. It's non-stretchy, and I suppose when you do wash it, I don't think it will it will shrink too much. Okay, so I've got some of this. Then I have, scissors, my book of needles. So you've got some needles, several thicknesses or several lengths, depending on what you like working with. a pencil because I think you can tell, you can see that there is a pencil line underneath where she sewed. So I think she drew it on first and then put the sewing over. And I also have some of these to put the calico in. I just have these. So different sizes I have just to try out, but you know, whichever one you have and whichever fits your fabric, I suppose that's okay. And then I think my grandma used colored sewing thread. This is my collection of sewing threads. So I have all kinds of sewing threads, you know, multicolored, glossy ones, black, green, blue, red, you know, depending on my sewing projects. Here are the little reels for my sewing machine. And I think that, yes, this is sewing thread. And Muka would have had quite a bit of it because she was also sewing a lot. So she made a lot of her own clothes. And, you know, when I was young, a lot of my clothes were made by her as well. So she would have had sewing thread. But I also have embroidery thread. And this is my little case of embroidery thread. And so I have all these sort of little, so depending on what you have, obviously you can use whatever you want. So I have embroidery thread, I have sewing thread. I would not use wool because, or the yarn that we normally use, because I think it's too thick. And I think it won't go through the calico. So we need something that goes through this fabric, obviously, because this is much finer. And I think with acrylic, you know, DK yarn, you're going to make big holes, and I don't think that's going to look nice. So yeah, whatever we're going to think, you know, I'm going to make this for my blanket, which I am doing in duck egg. And I think I bought this once because it looked like duck egg. So I think I might use that. So on my calico like this, I think that looks nice. So let me just make a little bit of space here. I am going to, just in the middle of my piece of fabric, I think what I'm just going to do is put the date for the sake of, you know, the length of the video basically. So I'm going to just, you could also print off on a paper whatever you want to put on there, and then put it against the window and then copy it. But I'm just going to go for it and hope that it looks nice. There. That's okay. Right, so I'm going to take one of my, I don't think I've used this yet, one of my embroidery hoops. There we go, take the piece of paper out. So underneath that one on top, I know my grandma had embroidery hoops, but I don't know whether she used them for these types of labels. I mean, you don't have to use it. You can just hold it a bit taut, but this makes it a lot easier. So it's just in the embroidery hoop like this. So it's sort of kept taut. And then as I'm going to use sewing thread, that's going to be quite a thin thread. I'm just going to use a longish, thinnish needle with not too much of an eye. Then find the end of your thread. And this is a question I get a lot as well, how I put my thread in my needle. So what I do, and this actually is something my grandma told me to do. My mum looked at me funny when I told her that, but yeah, this is what she said. So she takes her yarn like this, so you lift it over your needle like this. You then pull it over in between your fingers. Can you see that? It's just stuck there. That's the thread. Then put the eye over it and it's in. Look. I don't know whether, you know, how you do this, but there you go. I'm going to use a double thread. So with just a little bit of length, not too much. I'm just going to cut off the yarn here. And then, once again, you are going to have to make a knot. And once again, this is something that my grandma told me. So you hold the needle like this, you make a circle like this, you hold the ends and you twist it round. There we go. So a couple of times, not too many, and then you slide it, and you slide it all the way to the end, and magically you will have a knot. This is quite a different video from our normal crocheting, isn't it? Okay, so we now have our 2020, and I am going to stick my needle somewhere on my line from the bottom. Okay, there we go. And I am just going to do tiny stitches like so. And I don't know the name of this stitch. It has a name. I think it's called the stake. The stickske. As children, we used to call it the stickske. It's like sewing. So it's like, it looks like sewing. So you've got your little bits together there. Okay, if anybody knows the name of this stitch, then please do leave a comment below. Okay. So you sort of go past and then come back. And I'm doing really small stitches here. But you have to make sure your thread stays together. What's happened? There we go. Right. And I know that my grandma used various stitches, so we'll have a look in a moment to see which one we can... Oh, that's a bit too big really, but never mind. I'm not good at keeping same distance for the stick. Oh dear. So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take you too long to do this. If you buy the minimum amount of fabric, you'll be making labels for the rest of your life from those, because of course I think the minimum amount I had to buy was 50 centimeters, so that's given me a lot of fabric. It's not expensive to buy this fabric if you have your if you have needles, if you have your threads, then you know, whenever you want to make a label, it's not going to cost the earth. It will take a little bit of time, but then there you go, you know. Like I said, these days it's so easy to order things like this online. Obviously my grandma couldn't do that, but I think you know, having those labels on there is just such a precious thing. And I wish now that I had, you know, I was planning on labeling all my blankets and I haven't. So maybe I should make some, you know, like 2000, you know, 17, 18, 19, 20, and then just stick them on. But yeah, it's time, isn't it? So if you keep doing it every blanket that you finish, I guess that's keeping up with it, and that would make sense. So yeah, I'm just going to sit here and do this. But before I do that, let's just have a look. Yeah, so she put hers closer together. Look like this, so to make it thicker, I think. So this would be the like the stick, but then here to make it round, she sort of overlapped it a little bit more. And then of course she embellished it, so she put those little stars on the bottom of the label. Let's have a look at this one again. Yeah, again, same thing here, the little stars. So yeah. There we go. So I will be back in a moment where I will be cutting out my little label and sewing it on. There we go. Yep, see, that's better. I'm keeping a little bit more same. I'm having fun actually. It's a little bit different to what we normally do. Why is it always going funny? See, I'm not, there we go. I'm not really used to this, but, you know, I think it might just work out. Right, I will see you in a moment when I have finished doing my sewing. Okay, so I've just completed my last stitch there, and now I am going to just try and sew in the end. Every hobby has its sewing in the end moments, I'm sure. Just like crochet, we have to get rid of these ends as well, so I'm just going into the back wherever I can to just anchor, go under, go back under, etc. There we go. Okay, I had to change thread in the middle of the thing as well because I ran out, so there we go. So this is what it's looking like at the moment, and of course this is the back. I think it's, for me, this is neat. I have been known to do to do worse. Okay, so now I'm going to undo this embroidery hoop. There we go. And of course, I mean, there's not an exact science about this. I want to put this on, of course, like this, but I need to sort of sew it so I've got the ends going in. So so you cut it out. What I'm trying to say is, you cut it out bigger than what you are going to be using for the actual label. That's too big. What am I trying to do here? Right, just a guide. There we go. It's not even straight. I don't mind. Just let's, okay. So a bit bigger than what you're actually going to be using. And of course it had to be bigger for our embroidery hoop. There we go. So that's fine. So now we are going to fold this over. And of course we're sewing it on like that. That is quite big, maybe a little bit big, smaller still. I don't know. It's fine. It has to have something. Okay. So, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, let's get the blanket. Let me just make some space here because it's too big, it's too big. Right, okay. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Sorry, I'm not in the picture, am I? Goodness me. There we go. So it will look something like this. So, you know, depending on the size of your, there we go. Look, I think that looks fine. It might be a little bit big. What do you think? Actually, I might just... Okay, so I stopped filming there because I thought I needed to have a look at how big the label looked in relation to the whole blanket. And it's just impossible on here. So I pinned the label on, had a look, and it was a little bit too big. I thought it was too much. So just before you, sort of before you attach it permanently, have a look at how big your label is in relation to your blanket. Also, I needed to work out which was my front, which was my back, and also this blanket doesn't really have a front or a back, so whichever side was fine, but I wanted to, you know, which corner, blah blah blah. Anyway, okay, so I finally decided this is going to be the corner, this is going to be this side, you know, so whichever blanket you're putting it on, try and just pin it on first to see what it looks like, so you know what it's going to be potentially looking like, and then you can still change your mind. So yes, I have made the label a tiny bit smaller so it would be a little bit more compact, and I think this is where I would like it to be. Okay, so I have got my needle again and my thread here. Once again, putting it over my needle and squeezing it in between my two fingers there, and it is threaded on magically. Cutting it off. I think I might just do the double thread again. Oh my goodness, it's so hard to pick up the needle and thread, because that makes it a little bit thicker for me to see and to show you. So we're going to do the double threaded knotting again. There we go. Okay, right, so now to get started, I want to sort of start without the end hanging out. So what I tend to do is I go to the back of my label here and sort of work my way into the fabric coming out on the corner there. So then the end is inside my label there. Okay, and then all you need to do is try and sew it on. Well, either you do it sort of invisibly, like I am trying to do, by picking up just behind that fold there. No, that's at the front. Just sort of picking up a tiny bit there. There we go. Right. And also I am not going to go sort of round any stitches. I am going to try and pick up there some yarn, but so that you don't see it on the other side. You could also use a clearly visible stitch, like the blanket stitch or something like that. So you do it in a decorative way, of course, you know. I mean, to be honest, you can do it whichever way. If you don't mind about seeing the stitches, then, you know, doesn't matter. It's your blanket, it's your label. You do it the way you see best, basically. I am getting a little bit entangled with my needle and my thread and my pins here, but never mind. Yep, there we go. I tried to put this onto an embroidery hoop as well. That works as well. Don't do it too tightly because you don't want to damage your crochet work, of course. But yeah, I'm just trying to pick up a couple of threads just at the back of the label and then something into the crochet, but in such a way that, look, you can't see the stitches here, and also on the other side you can't really see, or you can't see what I've done there. So this other side just looks normal, so you can't see. And also if you use the same color as your blanket, of course it would of course disappear into that. I'm very weary of these pin ends here. Oh, sticking out, ready to stab me. Okay, so let's just pick the bit up here, bit there, into that corner. I think that looks nice. And again into the corner there, just making sure you attach it really nicely. See, can't really sort of tell that I've been sewing into that. Yep. And of course I'm only doing the year. I mean, obviously you could just put the name of the person that you're making this for. You could put your own name, you know, anything that you want basically. But also, of course, I'm putting the year because, yes, I want to start dating my blankets so that, well, she says now, you can, you know, sort of look back and say, yeah, I made that in that year and that in that year. I think it's a nice thing to do. I don't know where my grandma got the idea from, but she did, and I am so pleased she did, because most of her blankets that we have now have the you know, have a year on them, and you can sort of think back and say, what was I doing that year? And to have the blankets for the children that she made, you know, sort of with their birth years on them, that's just so precious as well. Okay. So as you see, I haven't done the edging here nor here because, of course, I am too eager and I'm wanting to make this label already. I thought if I film it already, then you can go ahead and get your supplies ready as well for when your blanket is finished, so you can make this label as well, or even, you know, any other blanket that you're making. Yes, we can easily buy this online now, but it's so much more precious to make these little labels ourselves, and it doesn't take long at all. What was I just thinking of? Yes, I mean, it might take a little while to sew it on, but look, I've been doing this 7 minutes now. It's not taking me that long. I'm not doing very small stitches, but as you can't, look, I'll just remove this so it would be flatter. Look there. You know, as you can't see, there we go. I think it's fine. Let me just remove this one as well, so it's nice and flat. And just, yeah, like I said, just pick up anything that you sort of can. And then on the edge of the label, or just behind the edge of the label. I'm trying not to do anything. There we go. At the front of the label, so it's not visible. There we go. Oop. And I just pull it. Make sure you don't sort of bunch it up, obviously, but just gently moving along the side. Oh, this was handy. Look at that. There we go. So this is my end that needs to go in. And then really this one as well needs to go in. So I'm just going to go in with my needle, trying to get under the folded under bit. Just come out somewhere. There we go, and I'll cut it off and that will be fine. So, there we go. Look at that. I'm really liking that. I really enjoyed my little trip down memory lane trying to recreate my grandma's label, so I hope you did too. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! If you've enjoyed this video, please do consider sharing it with others. Thank you so very much for watching, and I also hope to see you on our Facebook group. Join me there.